My family went from cotton to Congress in his lifetime.
It is now official. Senator Tim Scott throwing his name in the ring for the 2024 Republican nomination for president, joining former President Donald Trump and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley in the race. Haley was the one who appointed Scott to the U.S. Senate back in 2012. So things get even more interesting. And for much more, I want to bring our political analyst, both David Thomas, Fletcher Smith. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
The
John.
race for the White House, the race for the Republican nomination just keeps getting more and more interesting. Fletcher, I'm going to start with you. What are Scott's chances in this race?
I think Scott has an opportunity here to break through nationally because Scott is evangelical. He's Reaganist. You heard that speech today.
Right.
It was very positive. There was nothing negative in there. And so I have the impression that Scott is going to break through in Iowa. And if he does right, he'll break through in South Carolina as well, because Scott demonstrated to me today that he's ready for the job.
And David, Fletcher brings up a good point about him breaking through in South Carolina. It seems like that could be tough for both him and the former governors, because we already have the backing of the current governor going to Trump and Senator Lindsey Graham already backing Trump. So two big prominent Republicans in South Carolina have already backed the former President Donald Trump.
You know, he comes out of such a different mold.
Okay.
I just want to, when you watch him, I watched the whole thing at 11 o'clock this morning. All I could think of was, I like him. He's just lovable. You want to hold on to him and love him like a teddy bear or something. And yet he says all the right things. So it's just not the look and the feel. I mean, he's articulate. He's going to appeal to folks who've been, I think, so sensitized as to being called racist for the last 10 years. Every turn, you're a racist. Well, and they're even, they were attacking the whole state of Florida. Don't go to Florida. It's a racist state. Well, people are tired of hearing that are in the Republican Party that are going to vote in the primary. And I believe they could very well vote for him just to sort of say, I'm not a racist. I like all three of them or four of them or whatever, but I'm choosing him because I'm going to demonstrate to my friends and in my own mind that I am not a racist. I'm for whoever the best person is for the job.
Sure.
And he can demonstrate a lot of positives going into this thing that that I think could, in a way, not be. You get somebody that's got some edge to him. And DeSantis is a wonderful person. I like DeSantis, but he got some edge to him.
Sure.
But I don't think Tim's got any edge. He states the facts. He's positive in how he states the facts. And every time I've seen him on television come across with something, I've sort of said, oh, that was well put. That was very good. I like that. And I think that's what the nation is going to see. Then the breaking through, even if he doesn't win the presidency, look, there's a lot of stuff going on with advisors who are, and you of course know this, I mean, what's the fallback position?
Okay.
You know, what's the fallback position? Could be a cabinet job, could be vice president, could be a shot at the presidency 4 years from now. If so, a lot of things are happening. This is going to be fun.
Oftentimes, a lot of candidates run not just for this current office, but maybe the office in the future. That could be a possibility. Fletcher, saying about what David was saying, how Senator Scott is likable, how he doesn't have an edge, but does that translate into votes when it comes down to the Republican nomination?
Not necessarily. I think Donald Trump is the guy to beat. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is a own the libs party right now. They want to own the libs, and they want to take the Democrats down, and they don't have that Reagan-esque positive message that Scott demonstrated today. And so I think negativism is going to be the key between the two principal candidates, DeSantis and Trump. And I think Trump has the edge there. He's leading in the polls very, very, very prominently. And I do think that that's going to suck the oxygen out of everybody else, because Trump needs a very small slither of votes to win the nomination when you have 5 or 6 people running. And it's going to be a food fight between all of the Republicans who are running right now.
That's right. He brings up a good point, David, as far as this now with Scott entering the race. Some analysts that we talk to say that this is going to pull votes away from DeSantis, and it only helps Trump. Yeah,
it evens things out somewhat, but don't assume that there's an intractable base for Trump that cannot be eroded. And we see that happening in politics, especially on the national level. And you've got legal cases going on against Trump at this point in time. So as people analyzing the debates, now if Trump doesn't debate, that could very well be a deciding factor against Trump. I mean, if he's so good, then why is he not debating? So his decision to debate or not, I think, is going to be very, very important. And here's where you could see one of those other candidates really surging, because as they come out just looking good, they might think, I don't want the friction that Trump brings, but who would be the choice then? Sure. So the breakthrough might come in the debates, I think, is my point.
Well, that was David's aspirational in his comments, but Donald Trump's going to suck the oxygen out of any audience that he goes in front of. And the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump is the elephant in the room. And he takes so much
We like elephants.
I understand.
As Republicans, yeah.
But as Republicans, but the fact is, you got the Proud Boys, you got the 3%ers, you got the nationalists, and all those folks on the Republican side. So he's going to get those. And so Trump is very powerful in this state and in the other areas of the country where those folks share those same views.
We had 5% of voters say, the new polls show that they wanted, just 5%, wanted a rematch between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Who do you think would go up against best for the former president, or the current president, Joe Biden, as far as his matchup after we get through the primaries? What do you think?
I think Asa Hutchinson would probably be the most formidable candidate, and the other candidate would be the Sununu from New Hampshire, because Sununu is pro-choice, and that race is going to come down to who's pro-choice, because women all over the country, in the suburbs of Wisconsin and Michigan and places like that, they're not going to vote for a Republican candidate who's going to allow a 10-year-old girl who's raped by her uncle not to be able to get an abortion, or a woman can't get a DNC if she has a problem during her pregnancy. Women are not, men just need to understand. Women understand what their health problems are, and men don't. And so I think this is going to have a major impact in the general election.
Now, do you think that would benefit Nikki Haley then? Is because she came out and she didn't commit to a ban, but we have had Senator Scott talk in favor of a national ban.
I think Nikki's got a good way to get in if Nikki defines who she really is.
Okay.
And she keeps flip-flopping as to who she is. But if she comes out as a strong woman who believes in women's health care, I think Nikki can be a formidable force on the national scale.
She has said she is unapologetically pro-life. David, what do you think as far as matching up with the current president?
Well, I think the public, the Republican public is going to vote in the Republican primary. That's who I'm looking at right now.
Right.
Who might get the nomination is one thing. Now, you're asking who would best match up, and I think it would be a new face. I mean, we look at somebody like Sununu. He's been around a long time. It's not Sununu. It's old. I mean,
oh God!
Come on, give me somebody.
That's kind of cold, David.
Give me a new face. Well, Nikki's not a new face, but she's fresh. Sure. She's sharp, and she's not from sort of the inside the beltway kind of thing. Neither is Donald, but let's assume Donald is out. Then who would be the one that would best line up? And I've been a Donald supporter. I want to make sure that, for many, many years now. But who would be the best choice? And I think it would be either of our South Carolina individuals, Nikki or Tim.
Okay.
Now, I'm telling you, Tim is going to be something. Sure. I think what you're going to see is even numbers, first debate, bam, one of those two break out, and all of a sudden it's Trump at 35, and then one of those two at 32.
Okay. Well, now voters have two South Carolinians to choose from, so it gets very interesting from here. Gentlemen, thank you so much as always.
Thank you, Justin.
Enjoy your insight. Thank you.